Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Jose Gonzalez here, and you are watching the very first episode of Wrestling Worth a Watch. So this is my new rewatch series for going back through the archives of pro wrestling. So it could be any company, it can be any wrestler. The whole point of this series is kind of put you onto different themes every week and get festive with what's going on the calendar year during the wrestling year. So some stuff's going to be more event focused, some stuff might be wrestler focused, where we go down their match catalog. Some stuff could just be common themes, but for this one I figured we are just about, as this is going up, it is go home week for AEW Full Gear 2025. So I figured what better way than to kick off this new series by talking about some of my favorite AEW Full Gear matches from years past. So if you guys are into stuff like this and you're very curious about how this new show is going to work, just make sure that, one, you're subscribed to the channel. It's free. It helps me out. Make sure you're liking the video. Make sure that you're sharing this one around. And who knows, I could be doing this for a very long time, as well as over on patreon.com/JoseInTheAir. We're going to get these out to you 3 days earlier, plus my exclusive reactions in full to these matches. So if that interests you, by all means, feel free to sub over there. But without further ado, let's get into this list of matches for AEW Full Gear years past. All right, we're starting this one big. We have Kenny Omega going against Hangman Adam Page for the AEW Men's World Championship, going back to Full Gear in 2021. This one's a fun one simply just because of the fact that I actually had to go back and rewatch this because I didn't remember it as well as I did. But also like seeing like heel Kenny Omega with like the dyed like super black hair, got Don Callis and like these bright purple lemon pepper steppers around ringside being a menace. But just like, this was also the very first Hangman Adam Page world title win, so seeing how that played out and everything, and knowing what was still to come all these years later as we saw his character change throughout stuff, which we'll talk about later on in the show, just because of the fact that we have another Hangman match talking about at Full Gear. But this one was fun. Like, it really felt like it was the coming out party for Hangman. It's post the Elite breaking up with him and everything. I totally thought that we were going to get some interference here from the Young Bucks, but we didn't. But this was just a really good performance. Kenny Omega, when it comes to big world title matches, he rarely ever disappoints. This is no exception. He was phenomenal in this one all the way through. And it really felt kind of surreal to see Hangman finally get the win, finally capture the world championship, and what really felt like a nice clean win. You don't really get to see that all the time when we have all these different factions and stables in AEW, so I'll take it where I can get it. This was a very good way for Hangman to win his very first world championship against the man that he was a former world tag team champion with, no less. But yeah, no, I'm excited that this one is the one we're kicking things off with. But you know, if there's one thing about me, I will always make sure that not only we're going to put over some men, but we have to put over some women's wrestling as well, too. Of course, not to be outdone, we have Toni Storm versus Jamie Hayter for the, at the time, interim AEW Women's World Championship. So this was after Thunder Rosa had to vacate the championship due to injury. We got to see Toni Storm win that title interimly. Eventually, they do away with the whole interim thing, as Thunder Rosa really cannot come back and regain the championship. So these are official world title reigns, and knowing how Toni Storm played out then and how Jamie Hayter played out then to seeing where they are now, especially coming off of the heels of the very first women's Blood and Guts match this past week, it was a nice trip down memory lane for this one, because it felt like Jamie and Toni always had really good chemistry, and I feel like this one's no exception. We got to see a lot more of a hard-hitting affair with them. We got to see Toni bleeding a little bit from her nose and everything. Of course, this is where we see Britt Baker still involved with a lot of things. We had her, we had Rebel getting involved with a lot of stuff, but the crowd was really getting behind Jamie more and more as the match went on, too, which was awesome to see. And of course, Jamie does pick up the win, hitting Toni finally with the Haterade. She gets the 1-2-3. She wins her first world championship in AEW, and it really felt like a coming out party for Jamie Hayter, because she's someone that was there for a little bit in 2019. Then COVID kind of happened. Things died down with her getting back to the States, and then once she did, having that little bit of a stable with Britt Baker for a while, and then really seeing the star that she's become since being the world champion to now just someone that you really have as one of the heads of the division. It's phenomenal to see that. And then, of course, this being Toni's first title loss, and kind of pre-Outcast, everything that goes on there, pre-timeless Toni Storm. This is like very fresh. Toni left WWE on her own, started making a name for herself again in AEW. This was just, it was a really good match between two very hungry women for the World Championship, and I'm so glad we got to see this one. Of course, we had Hangman on before, but it wasn't anything compared to what we got with this Texas Death match from Full Gear 2023. Hangman Adam Page going against Swerve Strickland. This was probably one of the most violent matches I think I've ever seen. I'm so mad that there was technical difficulties recording my reaction for this one on the Patreon because my jaw was ajar the whole time. I was gasping. It was such a brutal match, but it had to be. We're talking about someone breaking and entering into my home with my baby and just this whole Hangman Swerve feud over the year or so that it took place. It was just a level of violence I didn't know that I wanted out of wrestling because I'm usually not like the deathmatch guy, the super hardcore. Like I was not watching GCW, I was not watching CZW, but this one, as sick as it got, I was hooked. Do I think we needed to have a little bit of interference in the match with Brian Cage? Absolutely not. Did I think we needed Prince Nana at ringside getting involved? That I did agree with because he eventually got his, but it's just this match was so damn good. And seeing the lengths that they went to using anything and everything as a weapon in different ways, I could have done without the drinking of the blood, but that's just me. But no, this was a phenomenal Texas death match. It shows why it's Hangman's specialty match in AEW. And the crazy part is that things were only going to get crazier as the roles started to reverse in that storyline. But I mean, it's a must watch for a reason. I mean, you just got to go back, know what you're getting into, prepare yourself, kind of desensitize a little bit. But this was so good. And of course, last but never ever least, especially considering the two people that I'm talking about in this one, we're going back to last year at Full Gear. It was Chris Statlander challenging Mercedes Moné, the CEO, for the TBS Championship in their first encounter. And what was such an incredible match, full of reversals, full of high impact spots. You really got to see the lengths that Mercedes was trying to go to because she knew that Chris was a challenge she hadn't faced anywhere else before. So seeing the lengths of her having to think about, oh gosh, if she's gonna kick out of this, what do I have to do now? Just hearing the frustration, her trying to do anything she could to get a win, seeing her try to go for countouts, and then eventually just the sequence that they had where it ends in a roll up, I'm okay with because she went through everything in her playbook at that time to try to stop Chris, and she couldn't, so she let her momentum do it for her. It is crazy that a year later we're about to have a rematch, but this time the roles are reversed because Mercedes is going to challenge Chris Statlander, but this time it's for the AEW Women's World Championship, the title that evaded her back at All In when she was one-on-one with Timeless Toni Storm. Chris finally getting that World Championship after so long of being almost pretty much a day one AEW signee. Just, I cannot wait to see how this one's going to play out, especially considering the fact that we're coming off of Blood and Guts. Mercedes' team was victorious in the Blood and Guts match, but it was Chris that took her outside of the cage with that Samoan drop from the cage onto the table. And just, Mercedes so far, the record is in her favor. If we're including the Blood and Guts match, it's 3-0 Mercedes to Chris 0. But I don't know. I mean, before we even get to this Saturday, though, go back and watch this match. And then after this, go watch the World's End match from last year. Watch all the Chris Statlander, Mercedes Moné, anything that you could think of those two. You're going to be thoroughly entertained. Just two of the very best wrestlers AEW has in that division. And I really hope that this means that this coming year for this Saturday, they're finally going to main event, a true main event on AEW pay-per-view because they fucking deserve it. But aside from that, those were the 4 matches I have for this week when it comes to going back down the AEW Full Gear rabbit hole. But for the ones that I left out, let me know what your favorite AEW Full Gear matches are. Maybe it was listed, maybe it wasn't. But if you guys have any other suggestions for future episode themes, leave them in the comments down below. Leave them on all socials, Jose on the air. And I will see you guys next week for more wrestling worth a watch, because in the spirit of keeping the calendar going, we're going to go from AEW Full Gear to TNA Turning Point. So until then, make sure you guys are subscribed here. Make sure you're following on all socials. If you feel so inclined, you could subscribe over on Patreon, get those full match reactions at the $5 tier. Or if you just want to hear a little bit of my thoughts a little earlier, the $3 tier. But until then, I will see you guys next week. Take care, everybody.